Are you observing some signs that make you uneasy about your partner? What if I tell you that your instincts might be right and your fears are justified? When a man is on the verge of cheating or considering ending the relationship, he often leaves subtle clues that are easy to overlook. Spotting these signs early will help you address the issues on time and protect yourself from misery. That's why I'm going to reveal 7 relationship red flags in men that might look small, but you should never ignore. Stay with us to learn more about these signs and empower yourself to make the right decisions and stay in control of your relationship. Also, remember to get your gift waiting in the middle of this video for a happy and fulfilling relationship. Number 7. The I don't know man. How much have you heard him saying, "I don't know," on a normal question? If you hear it a lot every day, then it could be a relationship red flag that you should not take lightly. Now, you might wonder how a seemingly insignificant phrase can be a troubling sign. Let me explain. Let's start with the things he says "I don't know" to. If you notice, he says his phrase on everything that is in some way related to the relationship. When you ask him about the future of the relationship, he says, "I don't know." You want to make plans with him? He says, "I don't know." You ask him if he wants to go watch a movie, and he says, "I don't know." You ask him what he really wants, and his answer remains, "I don't know." This kind of behavior is a direct warning that something is not right, and you might need to reconsider this relationship. But why? Let's get into it. When he constantly repeats this phrase, it signals a few things. It could mean he is emotionally unavailable, trying to keep his distance to avoid deep feelings or commitments. It could also mean that he is repeating this phrase to dodge taking the responsibilities that come with a relationship. Sometimes, it's a way to express unhappiness without actually talking about it. It's like he's not too happy to be in this relationship and he wants to end it, but he can't say it directly. So, he finds excuses like this phrase to break your connection with him. If he keeps saying, "I don't know, man," it makes you feel uncertain and frustrated because there's no clear communication or direction. And lastly, he doesn't want to commit to something serious and responsible and wants to keep his options in case he gets tired of you. So, as a woman, how should you handle it if you come across such a situation? We'll start by observing him intentionally this time. Look at his expressions when he says "I don't know" to things. Faces can tell a true story sometimes. Also, notice if it's just a coincidence or if he keeps saying it constantly. Once you confirm it's a red flag, then confront and talk with him directly. Make it clear that you need a clear communication and more commitment from him. Ask him to share his thoughts and feelings more openly. If this keeps on happening after a serious conversation, then you must reconsider your relationship. It's much better to move on than live in a relationship of uncertainty. Your emotional well-being is important, and you deserve someone who communicates clearly. Number 6. He says all his exes were crazy. Another concerning red flag is when a man consistently dismisses his ex-partners as crazy. You see, a true gentleman never insults or defames his previous partners. No matter how toxic his relationships might have been, he always respects them and just says things didn't work out between us. Contrary to this, if a man calls all of his previous partners crazy, then it is the clearest red flag you must not ignore. Now, let's consider why he calls them crazy. Not sure? Maybe these examples will clarify. When discussing his past relationships, he often describes them as crazy because they couldn't handle him being busy. He frequently reflects on dating someone who was unstable and picked fights. He explained breakups by saying his ex was too emotional and created unnecessary drama. In conversation, he generalizes that he seems to attract crazy women. If you realize none of these reasons justify ending a serious relationship, secondly, it's possible that one of his exes might not have been a good match for him, but not all of them can be labeled as crazy. So, the problem has to be with him, not with them. Now, when he labels all of his previous partners as crazy, it could mean a few things. It could mean that he is disrespectful towards women in general, or people in general, which is why those women couldn't keep up with him. Perhaps he simply didn't understand women and lacks awareness of how to build strong relationships with them. He might have a history of unstable behavior or a tendency to create drama in his relationships. It's possible he becomes harsh and confrontational, which drives women away. Know that if he left all those women and now calls them crazy, he can do the same thing with you without hesitation. So, here's what you need to do to avoid being in such a situation. Talk with him and ask him to clarify why he keeps using derogatory remarks on his exes. Get into the depth of it. even if you have to check the history of those women. And if you find out those women are not to blame, then it's essential that you force him to change his behavior at the cost of the relationship. Number 5. He can't even apologize or take the fault. Have you ever been in a situation where he never accepts his faults or apologizes after making many mistakes again and again? This can be very frustrating, as a partner always feeling unheard or not taken seriously. But what if I told you there is a bigger problem lying behind this behavior? It's a relationship red flag that could lead to a toxic relationship. The biggest sign is that he doesn't apologize even for small daily life matters. After forgetting an important anniversary, he brushes it off saying it's not a big deal. You know I'm busy. During a conversation, he may say hurtful things to you, but never come to you and say sorry. When he breaks a promise, he says, I misunderstood, or I never agreed to that. After arriving late for dinner, he blames it on the traffic, but never apologizes. So, what does it mean when he never apologizes or takes responsibility? It could indicate a pattern of narcissism or an inability to handle criticism. He might take his ego bigger than the well-being of the relationship, which is an indication that he doesn't take the relationship seriously enough. You can let it go once or twice, but if this behavior keeps on happening, it can create a cycle where problems remain problems and love and intimacy cease to exist. As a partner, you must handle this situation tactically. Let him know that his inability to apologize for his actions hurts you a lot. Having open communication and let him know the importance of accountability for a relationship to flourish. Now, there are 2 possibilities for how he responds to this communication. If he actually seems concerned about his behavior and it feels like he wants to change but fails every time, then help him in every possible way and guide him onto how to gather the courage to ask for forgiveness. But if he shows no interest and wants to continue with his sensitive ego approach, then make it clear that you won't tolerate it again anymore. In both cases, if it keeps on happening after trying every option, then you may consider this relationship and take your own well-being above everything else. Number 4. His anger is immature. Now, let me ask you, what kind of person is he when he's angry? I am sure you have heard this phrase. When a person is angry, their true colors show. This is very accurate, especially in relationships. A person who can control his anger and stays calm in intense situations is the kind of man who is most suited for getting into a relationship. However, if he loses his calm and his anger manifests in immature ways, then you need to get an alert. Let me explain why his reaction to anger is a red flag. If things don't go his way, he may get very angry very quickly over small matters. For example, let's say you ask him to go to a different restaurant for dinner than what he had decided. He reacts by dismissing your suggestion harshly, saying, "Why do you always have to complicate things?" If you criticize him for something, he responds with anger and takes it personally. For example, if you tell him that he left the living room light on all night, he would respond with, "I can't do anything right, can't I?" This kind of immature anger is reflected in daily life in small things such as not getting his favorite food on the table, his plans getting interrupted, not finding his favorite clothes, and literally everything else. So, how can this immature anger be bad for the relationship? Well, it should suggest underlying insecurities that sometimes appear in the form of explosive outbursts. It could be stress from work or just the pressure of paying the bills. He may not be very good at expressing the ups and downs of his emotions and ends up responding with anger. Either way, you must put yourself first, and your happiness should be the main priority. The first step to deal with it is polite communication. Talk with him and try to get to the root cause of his behavior. If he is willing to change, support him. Don't talk back with the same tone, and try to stay polite as much as possible. Get him the treatment if needed. However, if he is not willing to change himself for you, it might mean there are deeper issues between you that need serious thought. Before we move on, here's your gift. We recently made a video on 7 signs he just wants you for sex. Now make sure you watch it to get the insights. Let's continue. Number 3. Actions don't align with his words. If your man is good at keeping his promises and proving his every word with his actions, then you're good to go. However, if he says one thing and then does another, then there could be a problem because discrepancy can be a major red flag in relationships. It can be frustrating and leave you wondering why he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. And in short, it is not a good sign for a healthy relationship. Consider the times he tells you how much he values honesty and openness, but then avoids serious conversations. Think about the moments when he says he loves you and can do anything for you, but doesn't even spend enough time with you. What about promising you that he will be with you on weekends, but then spends both days and nights hanging out with friends? He might make future plans with you, but then doesn't seem to do anything about it. There are so many examples that can be clear signs that he doesn't justify his relationship with his actions. So, what does it mean for you as a partner? Well, it could mean that he is not fully committed to you or this relationship. It might mean that he is saying what he thinks you want to hear without any real intention of following through. It's like he doesn't want to put any effort into things to keep you impressed and keep you happy. Perhaps he is unhappy about his relationship with you, or just playing around with you temporarily. If you're dealing with this situation, it's crucial to address it directly. Start by paying close attention to his patterns. Note the specific instances where his actions diverge from his words. Note them down, and talk with him about these moments. If he denies them, just show him your notes as evidence and force your way to an honest and open dialogue. Let him know the value of words in a relationship, and make him realize how they can affect the relationship. If he responds with positive intentions and actually tries to make an effort, then it's a good sign. However, if he agrees with you and promises to change himself and doesn't live up to his words yet again, it's essential to consider whether staying in the relationship is in your best interest. You see, relationships cannot be built on fake promises, and something like this is going to end sooner or later. So, it is better if you make a decision in time and prevent a bigger disaster. Number 2, he never makes real plans with you. Sometimes it's fun when a couple goes out on a date or reschedules a date at the last minute, especially in the initial stages of a relationship. However, if a man is never serious about spending quality time with you as time goes on, then the danger is nearby. It can make you unsure of your role in the man's life and the depth of the connection the two of you share. Consider this. You are expecting a weekend escape for a romantic date, or even just a dinner. However, he either makes ambiguous or negative responses such as, "We'll have to wait and see," or "possibly." He frequently pauses or reschedules dates by citing issues such as work engagements or emergent situations. This means your time together is often spontaneous, and there is no pre-planning or anticipation, which makes you question whether he really desires to spend time with you in a meaningful way. Summing up, these multiple occurrences of shying away from making specific commitments might be a sign that both partners are not very eager to invest in the relationship. If a person cancels all the sunk cost plans, then it may be an indication of low investment in the relationship, or one is keeping the other option open. This might mean he is not yet serious with the relationship, or probably he does not envision you as his future spouse. He may be reluctant to take a serious step with you and bring you around his friends or family members. Such behavior usually suggests that he does not want to be tied down by the responsibilities that come with being in a more serious relationship. If you find this pattern, you need to take appropriate measures against it. See how frequently he escapes setting up a date, and see how he responds every time you mention future engagements. Speak your worries. "I've realized, sweetheart, we make imaginary plans. What's wrong with making real ones?" This makes him explain his stand on the relationship. Number 1, sarcastic jokes at your expense. As we wrap up our discussion on relationship red flags, let's address the behavior that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. But always, sarcasm at your expense. Bringing humor into the conversation with jokes is actually a good thing. But if the jokes are made at your expense every time more often, then it means something is wrong, and it's a red flag. For instance, when he aims and shoots nasty remarks about your looks, preferences, or competency. Is it painful? For instance, he could say, "I'm happy that you are on time." But instead, he says, "Well, this is the first time you are on time." Similarly, "Good job on making dinner tonight." But he would say, "I never thought you could do it tonight." While these statements might be said jokingly, the underneath tone is sarcastic and rude, and gradually wears down your confidence. It becomes apparent when all the jokes make the joke at your expense, and the jokes are lame nonetheless. While you might find their words amusing at first, such remarks slowly erode your self-esteem and leave you wondering how valuable you are in the relationship. Sarcasm usually contains implicit aggression and is considered a type of passive aggression. He never responds to issues straight. Otherwise, if it is criticism or disdain, he doesn't take it in a joking manner. This driving behavior may point to how self-esteem or other unresolved issues that a person may have. He might not have been free to share his genuine emotions, or he could be using humor as a way to assert dominance. It keeps piling up and turns into constant sarcasm, which does not make you feel valued. If you find this happening a lot, you have to do something to stop it. Notice the frequency of these sarcastic comments and how these comments can affect you. Whenever you are ready, go and confront him with those observations you have made. You can say, "You always say bitter things about me. It seems like you are disrespecting me all the time." If he acknowledges his behavior and makes a genuine effort to change, it's a positive sign. However, if he dismisses your feelings or continues to use sarcasm as a weapon, it's a red flag that needs serious consideration. Let's end our video here. I hope it was a valuable video for you ladies. Please share your suggestions in the comments section, and if you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up.